Okay, this is part 3 of a 4-part series I'm doing that I'm doing about surviving what I call the Great Depression of 2008. Now, I'm being unnecessarily probably pessimistic. Hopefully, it won't be a depression. I think we're pretty sure sitting in 2008 right now that's a recession. But the strategies I'm trying to give you, the idea of it is to help you survive even if we are in a prolonged recession or depression. And I showed a chart in video number 1 from the Wall Street Journal that showed in fact that the market, the stock market for example, real estate is very similar, doesn't go through a smooth upward period with sharp crashes then just recover. It generally goes through periods of boom and bust and followed by long-term flat periods. So it's actually a 3-part cycle, a fairly long boom cycle, usually 5 to 15 years, followed by a crash of some sort, can be larger like it was in the Great Depression, could be a 50% crash like it was 3 times in history, including the current one, or it can be a much smaller crash. But in all of those cases, it's generally followed by a period when the market is generally flat for periods of 5, 10, or 20 years. In fact, the 4 that I've seen have probably all been from 10 to 20 years. And I think that we're probably 5 to 7 years into maybe what could be another 5 to 7 to 10 year reasonably flat period. But these aren't smooth flat, they're very volatile flat periods. Not with 40% crashes generally from what we've seen historically, but after the first crash, maybe 10% swings or 20% swings on an annual basis. Usually with the highs not being much higher than the previous highs that the markets have seen. And if they are, they certainly crash down to lows again. But certainly at the end of that period, the ending number for the Dow Jones isn't much higher than it was 20 years ago. And what that does, in fact, is it tends to smooth the average compound growth rate in the market back down to an average, 11% or 8% or 9% after inflation, but say 11 or 12% before inflation period of the stock market. So we have a period like we had in the past few years when the market's grown faster than 12%, generally have a crash followed by a long flat term period to make the overall average much closer to the average. So that's what I think that we're seeing right now, and I think we need to prepare for that. And so this is part 3, which is really talking about what to do if you've basically got yourself debt-free. So you're debt-free and you're now thinking about how to improve your financial situation. You own your own home maybe, or paying it off. You're in a reasonably stable job. Your income's reasonably stable. You're not carrying a lot of debt. You're not spending a lot of money. You've got your basic, what I call making money 101 habits down. In other words, you're not going crazy. You know how to live within your means. And you're starting to get yourself ahead. And unfortunately, the market hit you. So what we do know is this. We know that the stock market has crashed your 401ks. But we also know you're not going to touch your 401k for another 10 to 20 years and it won't matter. It will come back up to an average 11% return. Don't panic. We know your house has crashed in value as well. Hopefully you've got some positive equity, and we know that will come back as well in the next 10 or 20 years. So you can cover all those payments on a day-to-day basis. You're living okay, except on paper, your net worth has dropped dramatically, but from a day-to-day point of view, your financial situation is okay, you're surviving. So what do you need to do right now? Well, let's go talk to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's success simply came about because he was scared when other people were being greedy. So he wasn't buying a lot, if you noticed, in the last 5 years. In fact, he was sitting on a treasure chest of $45 billion, and he stopped being the world's richest man until fairly recently because he couldn't invest that $45 billion anywhere in a way that he thought made sense. So while everyone else was rushing in to take advantage of the climbing stock market, Warren Buffett was sitting on the sidelines because he couldn't find any bargains. So he was fearful when other people were being greedy. But he said that his success came because he was greedy when other people were fearful. So he was making his money when people like you or I were too scared to invest our money. What do you think Warren Buffett's just done now? He's just invested $10 billion, $5 billion in, and he did before. He invested billions of dollars in Kraft when the market first crashed, just before the most recent crash. Then after the most recent crash, he invested $5 billion in Goldman Sachs, and he invested another $5 billion in, it just escaped me, I just said 2 seconds ago. You can put up on the screen because I'm sure you know, it'll come to me. So just a few days ago, he invested $5 billion in, General Electric, thank you very much, GE. Now, why do you invest in $5 billion in GE? Well, aside from the fact that it's some risk in GE because you've got a significant finance arm to their business, but GE has had 20 or 30 years of quarter-over-quarter, year-over-year profits and profit growth. So this is a company that's generally been growing. Their stock's been all over the place, but the company itself is solid as a rock. So you put $5 billion into it. Of course, you got preferred money. The point is he's buying now when we're being greedy. So here's what we want to do. Right now, we want to build up cash. And how do we build up cash? We start a business on the side. We take a second job. We do whatever we need to do to build up cash. And what do we do with that cash? We do one of two things or both. The first thing we do is we build up a war chest, and we have some cash. We start buying stocks. Now, those stocks may go up, they may go down some more, but we find 4 or 5 stocks like GE or Apple, if you like Apple, or Walgreens, or whatever it is you like. You look around, find companies that you know and understand that you believe are going to make profits for the next 10, 20, preferably 100 years. That probably cuts out Apple, but it certainly includes General Electric, Walgreens, G&K, which is in the shipping business. Businesses that are strong underlying businesses, and you start buying their stock. If the stock goes down a bit more from where it is today, it doesn't matter. When you've got more cash, you buy more stock. So what you keep doing is buying it as it gets cheaper and cheaper. And if it's going up, you keep buying it because that's what we want. We want a stock that's rising. Okay. So because whatever happens is we don't know when the next bull run will come, but all I know is that when you look back and the bull run does come, and you only know that in hindsight, you'll see how cheap the stocks that you just bought were in hindsight, even if the market drops from here. Again, keeping long-term view. But there's another strategy that you can do if you've got more guts, I guess. If you can handle risk, then I've got a great strategy in current markets, and it's the only market that I would recommend trading the market and buying options in. Because the one thing we do know is that over the next 5 or 10 years, if I'm right about the market being relatively flat and volatile, is we know that stocks will go up and down. And when stocks are going up and down, it's an ideal time to buy options. But the option strategy I recommend is that, again, you select 1 or 2 stocks that you really like. This time, choose a volatile stock. Great stock, for example, is a technology stock like Apple, not eBay, because that's not a volatile technology stock anymore, but Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, any one of those stocks that you like, and start putting options around them. But buy a put option and an equal amount of a call option, and do that and wait a month. Because the one thing you know is that stock is not going to stay flat. It's probably going to go either up or down. You just don't know which way. As long as it moves reasonably sharply in one direction or the other, your option strategy will win. It's called straddling the market, buying an option both ways. Again, it's a risky option, but it's a great way for those who are trying to build up their wealth, even in a difficult period like this. If you're trying to build up your wealth, think about buying stocks and buying options in the current market.